Okay, hello. I am still in the same clothes because I decided I want to do one more little video tonight. Same thing, about 10-15 minutes is the goal. If you haven't seen any of the other videos, or if you found me for TikTok, something, I'm Jailyne. I am a big animal lover. I have 4 cats and 2 dogs of my own. I live in Central Florida, and I've been talking about my experiences since January with cat rescue. So I'm not going to name where exactly I live, who I work with, anything like that. But I've just been talking about things that I've learned that YouTube searches and kind of like even Google searches at times doesn't really talk about because it varies so greatly from place to place. So the first video I talked about things like making sure that you are either, if you're a renter, that you pay a security deposit to have animals in your home, as well as pet rent if it's necessary. That's just to ensure that you and the animals are all safe. If for some reason the landlord were to come over and see that you suddenly have 4 cats, 4 little tiny cats or even big cats, and to ensure that you yourself don't have to worry about any stress if that happens, because they can evict you in many states or that kind of thing. It's a breach of contract. So those are important things to really keep in mind. I don't think people really think about it. They just assume, oh, it's a cat, it'll be quiet. Doesn't matter. Some of them are destructive. People can be petty or just, rude and want to be like, oh, I saw them with pet kennels and they're not supposed to have pets, so I'm going to tell on them. Speaking of dogs, that's Belle. She likes to talk every single video. Don't know why. Belle, come here. But if you call her, she gets very confused because she just wants to chase the cats. Hi, RJ. So right now, as I mentioned, I have my own personal pets, but I also have many fosters. So my last video talked about the biggest thing that has impacted me, which is just time, money, and resources. I spend, if I'm completely honest with you, right now about 4 to 5 hours a day cleaning, feeding, socializing, and just weighing them, making sure that they have enough food and water, checking who's been hiding, who doesn't really seem to want to come out, who's really friendly and the most socialized, because this video is going to kind of piggyback off of that, which is getting cats is always a gamble. It's like that with dogs too, but for me in particular, like I mentioned, I do cats. I don't rescue or foster dogs. So I've had some pretty traumatic experiences with saving cats. So to start, right now I have primarily kittens. I have one older kitten, that was RJ I just mentioned. She is about 5 months old. But the others that I have are between 3 and 4 months old. And total, I have 7 fosters right now. So these cats all came from, the 7 that I have right now were all strays at one point or another. So RJ was a stray when she was very little. She was rescued when she was about a month to a month and a half old. So she's been around people for the majority of her life. She still has some nuances that I'm working on with her. Things like she will just jump on stuff out of nowhere. Such as earlier, I was playing video games and she jumped up, knocked over some stuff on my desk, which freaked her out, causing her to run into my light and knock over some other stuff. Things that I knew were possible for her to do, but I just assumed the cat will never jump in that one specific spot. She did. It always happens. But it's not something that I should be going after her, locking her up, yelling at her, no physical violence, because she's a cat and I left the thing out. So it's kind of on me whether I want to take that essentially responsibility or not. That's important to be able to do. Trust me, I get very frustrated at times when they've torn something up or they've peed all over a blanket, because I'm the one that has to deal with it. But there's nothing I can do that's going to somehow undo that. I can prevent it in the future by realizing, oh, if I put something in this spot next to the litter box, they don't like that. They'll pee on it, they'll tear it apart, whatever. So I don't do that moving forward. It's all about learning what works for the cat and what doesn't, and making the correct adjustment. So the other 6 that I have were all outdoor strays until I got them. So one of them is a single female. She had two other siblings and a mom. They were living outside of a grocery store nearby. They were trapped by our TNBR team, but because they were very young and they weren't swiping or biting, they were just kind of growling and hissing. Those are typically cats that can be rehabilitated. They can be taught to trust people, to live inside, and she's doing great. The one single one is. She's been with me, goodness, it's the 7th of April. So she's been here probably for about 2 or 3 weeks. She still has her moments, but since having her space surgery, she's been doing a lot better. She's a lot more social. She actually likes the other cats. She wants to play with them, which is, again, a responsibility of mine. I need to get her socialized. I need to see how she does around the vacuum cleaner, somebody knocking on the door, my dog's running loose, the cats, because knowing whether or not she's going to swipe at a child who comes to pet her on her head when she's not expecting it matters. If somebody adopts this cat and it tears open their kid's hand, first of all, they're not going to keep the cat. Second of all, at least here in the state of Florida, we're required, if you were to get injured by an animal, which I have been, which is the reason I know this, they're required to do a report on what happened. Even if it's your personal cat, they're going to ask for the information. When was the last time it had a vaccine? Does it have its rabies shot? Is it current? Was this unprovoked? Was the cat injured? Was it scared? Was it, something that you caused? They still require all that information. So I had to go to the ER because I was bitten very, very badly and scratched up by a hurt cat that I had brought in temporarily. It wasn't provoked in any way other than the fact that he was injured. So he was probably scared. I probably moved too fast or made a noise he didn't like. And his instinct was to protect himself. I very calmly picked up the cat, put it in the crate, sat on the floor, and I promptly cried. I'm just going to be honest with you. It hurts. If you've never had a male cat that's about 6 years old bite your freaking hand full force out of fear, it hurts. My hand was numb. I had bruising. I couldn't move my thumb for about 4 days. I had to start 3 medications. It was hell. And all I could do was reach out to my mentor and say, hey, this happened. Because I have children, I was not comfortable having the cat in my house. He was so injured that it wasn't something that I could just kind of like keep at an arm's length. He needed to be cleaned and checked on regularly. So I reached out, I just let them know. Thankfully, they were very gracious, very understanding. They reached out to somebody who was more on the medical side, meaning they take like really injured cats, not so much like healthy cats or kittens. And one of them was able to take him in. And that was really hard because I have had cats in my life for over 15 years. I've never been actually attacked by a cat. I've never had a reason to fear cats. Same thing with dogs. I've never been attacked by a dog. My dogs, kind of snap at me in a playful way. I'm not terrified of it. But after that incident, I was afraid of going near any of the cats because all I could think to myself was that pain that just came from legitimate fear. And that's the gamble, is this cat had been friendly around multiple people. They were able to send us video. They're picking up the cat. They're showing us his injuries. They're talking with him. They're petting him. He had been around these people as a feral stray cat for over 2 years. I think it was 2 or 3. Never once had he bitten anybody, scratched anybody, or caused any other kind of harm. But it was just the wrong situation for him and I. I got to see him at one of his worst times. And I was unfortunately the person that scared him during that time. So I had to deal with the aftermath of that. And right now I have 5. Those are my last 5 fosters that I mentioned. So I have the 40. I have a little poofy gray girl. And then I have 5 brothers and sisters. So there's 3 boys and 2 girls. One of them acts like she's been living inside her entire life. They're about 4 months almost. And she's just super friendly. She'll come out, give you a little head pat, like, hey, buddy, what's up? You got some food? Do you have a toy? And she'll just hang out with you. Doesn't bother her at all. But two of the cats are so terrified that if I come near them, their eyes are just saucers. They don't even growl or hiss. They just look at you like, oh my God, you're going to eat me. Which I actually learned through this fostering experience. Well, I know you have a lot of, feelings and emotions, but you gotta calm down. Anyways, as I've learned through this experience, for kittens in particular, those who've lived outside and small kittens, something that they fear when you're kind of towering over them, if you're standing up or reaching from, the top to get to them, is they believe you are going to kill them by eating them. They see that as a predator action. So something I've had to do is come down to their level, let my hand out. Sometimes I have to just hold my hand like this, 5-10 minutes, waiting, keeping it as still as possible while they sniff my hand. Another thing to kind of determine if a cat is friendly or not, look in their eyes. Will they blink? If they blink, they trust you. They have faith that you will not hurt them. But if they give you that cold stare and their eyes slowly dilate, they see you as a threat. Those are the cats that will swipe, they'll puff up, they'll growl, they'll hiss. They may even just lunge and try to bite. But that's not something that everybody knows. I know most people probably know, the whole, oh, smell me, yeah. The problem is if you're looking at a cat who won't blink, has a pretty good, strength jaw, you just kind of reach out, they bite your finger, that's going to be numb for a few days, buddy. You're going to have to take, 10 days of medication just to make sure you don't get an infection. Oh, and by the way, you should probably get a tetanus shot. And if they're underage and don't have a rabies shot, you have to get a rabies shot too. It's not fun. Whether you have full insurance that'll cover all that or not, it's not fun. It's uncomfortable. It's time that, again, you're losing for the rest of the things that you may want to do in your life. And now it's more financial resources, most likely. You have to get yourself to the hospital. You have to get yourself taken care of. And somebody's probably going to call you asking about that cat bite because the ER doctor had to report it. It's just a slippery slope. So when you decide, I want to foster, be aware that it doesn't matter who a cat is in one place or with one person. It is going to be different with you. You may have to socialize from the ground up, showing them how to use a litter box, that eating food from you is okay, that your hand is not going to hurt them, that your smell is good. For many animals, even just the tone of your voice matters. Like, I'm a crazy cat person in general. I'm an animal person overall. So I kind of talk to my cats and dogs and little baby voices. But I have a deep, booming voice. I am loud. I'm just not, that high-pitched, soft, feminine kind of voice or person. I talk fast and I talk a lot. For some cats, that's terrifying. Some of the cats freak out when my husband talks to them, or if they hear his walk because it's booming, it's thundering. They don't know what to expect. They think it's the worst. Some cats don't care. All my cats, they couldn't care twice. The only thing they care about is if they hear a can of food opening. Then it's a stampede. They're out. You have to be prepared to teach a cat how to play. As weird as it sounds, watching my little single female trying to figure out socialization and play has probably been the funniest thing that I've dealt with, because she knows the general idea of like, let me show that I'm submissive. I'm not actually going to attack you. I'm trying to engage, but she does it while hissing. So the other cats are like, okay, don't mess with her, even though she's like exposing her belly and she has her paws out in a very playful way. All they hear is that low growl and that hiss over and over and over again. Okay, don't mess with that. It's not worth it. And they'll just walk away. And she gets really disappointed. She thought that she had, broke through. She got to them. When she stops the hissing, they'll play with her, but she doesn't get that yet. She even hisses when I have a little toy. And then she'll jump at it. And I'm like, why? What did the toy do to you? But that's just how she communicates. Even when I go up to her, she'll hiss, I'll pick her up and pet her, and she instantly purrs. But the first thing she does when she sees me is a quick hiss, as if to be like, hey, how are you? Doesn't make any sense. But I have to teach her not to do that somehow, which is where my cats come in. They have to teach her how to play. She watches them, they model behavior. The 5 that I have upstairs that I mentioned with the 2 very skittish cats, we actually break them up into smaller groups, like break them up, meaning they're all in the same room. They just have separators. That way they can watch each other's behavior and model it. So the very skittish cats rotate, staying with the very friendly cat. They see me pet her, they see me give her toys, give her treats, give her the, much desired wet food in the morning and at night. And they see that she's survived, she's okay, she's purring, she's having fun. Maybe I'm not so bad. So these are all things that you kind of you have to do. So I'm constantly going in there and remembering, okay, A was with B, so I need to put A with C now and put B with E, and D needs to go by themselves. Okay, next rotation, A goes with D and B and C can go together and E can be by themselves. And I'm just constantly doing this rotating movement to get them all acclimated to 1, being handled, 2, modeling those behaviors for each other. And once a cat starts to get really comfortable, then that cat gets to be the next model. And I just kind of move them around that way. So you might get a really friendly, really socialized cat, and that's great. They are the easiest by far. The hardest part about that is if they're older, because older cats and black cats, for some reason, all tend to get adopted at least. I have 2 black cats, so it doesn't matter to me. But you need to be ready for that. Because if you don't know how to teach a cat those things, time to start looking it up. I sure as hell didn't. I didn't know everything I was doing at first, which is why I'm making these little videos, just kind of thinking out loud about it. This one's a little bit longer, but that's okay. I just know that when I search for things, most people were like, oh, it's easy. Just, put a bathroom aside, put a litter box and a food dish in, instant cat room. What about when I have to sanitize that room? What if the cat is sick and nobody knows? What if the cat, just tears my shit up and my landlord doesn't know I have the cat? What if the cat is violent towards other cats and you have cats? Or what if they hate dogs and you have dogs? What if they hurt your child? These are all things you have to think about. No 2 animals anywhere on the earth have the same temperament. Nobody has the same triggers. Nobody has the same likes, dislikes. So you have to be mentally, physically, financially, and emotionally prepared for the roller coaster you're about to be on. It's amazing and I love it, but I've learned a lot and it's only been 4 months. There's a lot more I could go into, but Belle's saying I need to go. So see you in the future.